Hey guys, my name is Tebogo Thomas Ramakhwakwa. I am a Tux alumni. I graduated eons ago now. Don't want to expose my age. And I'm also the co-founder of the SBK Leadership Academy. So today guys, we're going to talk about the topic of servanthood, or as I like to call it, servant leadership. All right, so this is one of the most fundamental leadership aspects, honestly, for me, that one has to possess if they're going to consider themselves a great leader. We're going to talk about the definition first, and then we'll go into it as we continue in the coming videos. The first thing is the definition. Let's go into it. All right. So the definition I'm about to give is not a dictionary definition. It's based on research that was done by this great guy I follow called Robert K. Greenleaf. Right. So he says the servant leader is a servant first, in essence. That's what he summarized. In summary, his definition of a servant leader is that a servant leader is a servant first. They have this innate ability and natural tendency to just want to serve and to serve first. That's really big. Think about that, guys. To serve first. Okay, I'm going to say it again. A servant leader is somebody with a natural tendency, a desire to serve first, to always want to serve first. All right, so let's look at the definition of the word servant leadership. Okay, so servant leadership. Let's look at that. That's a compound word, right? So let's break it down. Let's look at the first word, to serve. To serve is, in my opinion, a desire to want to help somebody get something else done, right? I know it's not a word that excites a lot of people, like, yeah, let's serve. But in essence, it's so important if you think of what leadership in its essence is. Right, so if we look at the definition of the word serve, the dictionary definition, it's more or less the same as my opinion. I should write a dictionary, right? Right, but basically to do something for somebody else, right? If we look at it in a minister's perspective, when you are a servant to a country, you are put in a place to serve the leaders, right? Or rather, not the leaders, but the people of the nation. And let's think about that word while we're talking about definitions. Ministry, right? To be a minister of finance, to be a minister of education. In essence, what you are is a person that's saying, I am going to serve my community. Oh, I wish our leaders understood the depth of that meaning, minister of something. But anyways, chat for another day. All right, let's look at the second part of the compound word servant leadership, which is leader, right? Or leadership. What is that, right? In my opinion, a leader is somebody that takes someone from where they are and leads them or guides them and directs them to somewhere where they need to be, even though they don't want to be. And we're going to talk about the servant leadership characteristics later on in later videos. But that's in essence what leadership is. Right. So if you combine these two words, which seems like they're paradoxical, but if we think about it, they actually complement each other very well. If you want to lead, you need to understand the heart of the people that you lead. And that means you're going to be a servant. Now that we're done with talking about the definition of the word servant leader or servant leadership, okay, let's talk about just briefly a few examples of what it needs to look like, or the way that a servant leader should think. Right? Servant leader says things like, I want to help you achieve your goal, right? Or how can I help? So in essence, helping people is not a question to them. The real question to them is, how will they help? They think this way, right? And if we had a society of people that think that way, imagine how the world would be such a better place. And I hope you that are watching this video catch the heart of what we're trying to say here, because we're trying to equip you guys to be the best versions of yourself in order to lead the nation to a better place. But we cannot get there if we don't catch these things. The understanding that I need to have a tendency, if I'm going to be a leader, to put other people before myself. Another thing, another way that a servant leader thinks. All right, so after hearing all these things that a servant leader should say, the way that should think, you're probably thinking to yourself, right? Thomas, what about me? You know, If I put other people first, what happens to me? A servant leader actually understands that they can't pour out of an empty cup. So therefore, they are the type of person that is always looking to grow. They are always looking to improve, to be the best versions of themselves, because they cannot, again, if I use the expression, pour out of an empty cup, which means they can't give knowledge that they don't have themselves. They can't lead from a place or vision, which we're going to talk about, that they don't see for themselves first. So it's so important that we as servant leaders be the type of people that are constantly always trying to improve, always trying to learn. And if we apply these things, then we can never feel empty by pouring out, by prioritizing other people, because we are always giving from a place of fullness. Okay, cool, guys. So if we look at a few quotes about servant leadership, there's a few that come to the top of my mind. One that's in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus says this about leadership. Says, if you want to be the greatest, you need to be the servant of all, right? The disciples were arguing about who's the greatest, and that was Jesus' response. You know, if we look at another anonymous quote, says, if serving is beneath you, then leading is beyond you. So again, I could go on and share different perspectives about this imperative mindset, philosophy, if you will, of servant leadership. We must have a heart towards people. We must have a desire to see a better community. And what is a community made of? People. People trying to be their best. Okay, so in closing this last video, guys, I hope that you really grasp some of the things that were introduced as we go into later videos. What a servant leader is. Serving and leadership, which seems paradoxical, are actually very complementary. All right, closing off on that note, I'm reminding you, this is Tebogo Thomas Ramachachwa, a tax alumni, a co-founder of SBK Leadership Academy. I'll see you guys in the next video.